Welcome to this very special edition of the KAJ Masterclass Live, the show which ensures that you profit from your time spent here with experts, either through their industry insights, information, or simply learning from them. And today we have with us Victor Dedaj. He is a certified naturopath practitioner, certified trainer in the Canfield methodology. And we learned from him why children are getting diseases that used to only happen to adults, why supplements matter, and how eating good quality food transforms your health, and much more. Welcome to the show, Victor.
Thank you, AJ. Great to be here.
You are welcome. Welcome to the show, Victor. Welcome to India in this online form. And I'm sure not just in India, but a lot of people across the globe will benefit from what we are going to talk right now. We'll talk about health myths, we'll talk about chronic diseases, huge increase in chronic diseases, and much more. In that backdrop, we'll have our conversation. But before that, let's talk a bit about your journey, your background, so that the audience knows who they are listening to.
Well, I grew up in New York City. I'm a lifelong New Yorker. I actually worked in the corporate world for many years, and then later I left to become an entrepreneur. And I've always been interested in health and wellness because I learned that a lot of things we were taught about health was not true. And I had this desire to get the message out that the things people need to do to become healthier, because a lot of the information people were given was not right, was incorrect. So I've been passionate about doing that over the past 10 years or so. And that's been my focus, helping people to learn what are the things that can help them, what are the things they've been told that are wrong, and that they need to change some of those ways of thinking and doing, and by doing those things, they can become healthier.
Absolutely. So, Victor, what is it that led you to think like that? Any particular incident that happened in your life, anything that you would want to share? Because people generally, especially in the Western world, believe in the science part of the modern, medical science, you can say in that sense. And to talk about something else, there has to be a reason. I want to understand it from a common person's perspective, Victor.
Probably close to 20 years ago, I started reading a few books which actually shocked me because they were telling me about much of what we were taught was not correct. Like many medications we take have very bad side effects. They don't cure anything, with the possible exception of antibiotics. But even with antibiotics, they destroy the good bacteria which your body needs. So what I've learned is the medical model was teaching us to be on all these medications with a lot of bad side effects, and they really weren't curing anything, but that there were a lot of more natural things that people could take, supplements, vitamins, and minerals that could help improve their health, but they were trying to hide that from the public. And in the United States, where I live, medical schools cover very, very little about nutrition. They might spend 15 to 20 hours in all those years of medical school studying nutrition. So when the doctor finishes medical school, he doesn't think nutrition is that important because it was rarely covered in medical school. But he's been taught everything about pharmaceutical drugs. So that's why when you go to the doctor and there's an issue, he's going to recommend some sort of medication for you to take. Rarely will he say, take more vitamin C or take more magnesium. And I wanted to get the word out, over the course of years, that people need to know there's a different way without the bad side effects where they could get healthier.
Absolutely. Let's straightway talk about the topic itself, health myths. What are the health myths that you think? Why are people having these myths, especially in today's time when everything has so much of information, especially now with AI coming in, you just type and you can get as much information on any particular doubt or myth that you may have in mind. But I would want to understand it for the audience from you. What are the main health myths that you want to talk about?
Well, one thing I could tell you is if a doctor tells you can get all the nutrients you need simply from eating a good diet, that is dead wrong. The nutrients, most of the parts of the world are deficient. The soil is deficient of these nutrients. You cannot get everything you need simply from eating a good diet. It is important to eat good food. You need to eat real food. So eating healthy food is important. But you still won't get everything from a good diet because it's just impossible. The nutrients are not in the soil, and especially with minerals. If minerals are not in the soil, it will not be in the plants to eat. So you have to supplement. So that's the first health myth people are believing. And they've been told by many of their doctors it is not true. Next health myth I will say is people for many decades were told to eat a high carb, low fat diet, which is also a high seed oil diet, and they were told that is a very healthy diet. It is nothing could be further from the truth. This high carb, low fat, also high seed oil diet has led to an increase in chronic diseases, led to an increase in obesity, diabetes, Alzheimer's, heart disease, cancer, and other conditions as well because people were told it was healthy. And in fact, in the United States, the dietary guidelines that were written in 1977, one of the guys the main guy that was responsible for it, I believe his name was Mark Hested, was found later on in the 90s to be one of two Harvard researchers that were paid off by the sugar industry to exonerate sugar. They were given 6,500, which is today about $50,000, to exonerate sugar, saying sugar isn't bad for you, and lots of sugar is very bad for your health. But he was one of the guys he was the main guy responsible for the U.S. dietary guidelines in '77, and that thing promoted the diet I was telling you about, the high carb, low fat diet. And recently, it's been turned on its head by the current United States Health and Human Services Secretary RFK Jr. He's changed it, saying no, this is all bad. So I actually like the new dietary guideline. So that's something that's caused a lot of issues. Another one they were telling people is like stay away from salt. It causes all kinds of health issues. It raises your blood pressure. Actually, not true. It has a minimal effect on your blood pressure. Very important for your cells. And the countries where they eat the most salt, Japan, South Korea, France, guess what? They have the greatest longevity rates. Countries which eat very little salt, guess what? They die younger. So salt is actually good for you. Now, I recommend don't get regular table salt that only has iodine. Get the salt, the mineral salt has lots of minerals, whether it's Himalayan salt, or Celtic sea salt, those type of salts that have many of the minerals, the 60, 70, 80 minerals, because that's the great thing about salt. It gives you lots of minerals. People were told to stay away from eggs because it's high in cholesterol. Cholesterol is actually very important for you. And actually, cholesterol in food will not change your blood cholesterol levels anyway. But eggs are some of the most nutritious foods out there. And people were told cholesterol is bad. Cholesterol is actually very important. A big chunk of your brain is cholesterol. So in the late 80s, they came out with statin drugs. Statin drugs, of course, reduce cholesterol levels. And guess what? What happened? Alzheimer's disease and dementia rates started skyrocketing with the use of statins. Your brain needs it. You need it to make vitamin D. You need it to make the bile in your gallbladder. Without cholesterol, there would be no human race because you need to make estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone. So cholesterol is it's so important. Your liver makes about 80% of the cholesterol you need. So it's extremely important nutrient. People were told to stay away from it. The only time cholesterol is a problem is when it's oxidized. So, there's one type that's really bad when it gets oxidized. It's the small, dense type. The large, fluffy type, if your health is good, you don't have to worry about it. So those are some of the health myths people have been told, and it's caused so much health problems because people have been buying it. And the thing is, when you've been hearing it for 10, 20, 30 years, it's hard to unlearn. Even when you see some evidence saying it's wrong, it may take a while for you to challenge it. So even if you look it up on AI and you see something different, it may take a while because when it's been so ingrained for many years, it's hard to say I was wrong.
Absolutely, absolutely. Some of the things you gave, some sort of old studies, some researchers being paid, and all that stuff. But from a medical point of view, your first point was about supplements. What are the evidence available when you say this is not happening, this is not the right way to do anything, which can give some concrete understanding from a established medical understanding that can help dissolve these myths in the minds of listeners, something more concrete than just something talking about one research or something else.
Well, look, if you're deficient in calcium, you can open yourself up to about 150 diseases. This has been documented. Like being deficient, all kinds of minerals and vitamins can lead to up to 900 different diseases. If you're deficient, for example, in magnesium, potassium, you can have heart problems. You can have high blood pressure. This is without. When people have hearts, a lot of times in an emergency room, they will give people magnesium. They know this. So people who have heart attacks very often are deficient in selenium. Selenium is an extremely important mineral for the heart. But how often does your doctor tell you to take selenium? Very rarely. But it's an extremely important mineral for your heart. It can help prevent cancer. It's important for your thyroid. It's important for a whole bunch of things. So this is what happens when you're deficient in all these things. And I know when I work with clients, and I have them take health evaluation, I see where they're deficient. And when we correct the deficiency, guess what? A lot of their health conditions improve, they get better, and a lot of these things start to disappear. It doesn't happen overnight because these conditions were building up over years and years. There's not a magic pill that's going to fix your problem in one day. Just like if I need to lose 100 pounds, I can't do it in a couple of days. It's going to take me some time. So these chronic conditions, when anyone works with me, I say, you got to give me 90 days to at least see results. You can't say, I tried it for a week and didn't work, because this has been building up for you for many years. You don't all of a sudden get cancer or heart disease. It's been building up for you for many years.
Absolutely, Victor. So let's understand it from this particular point of view. In terms of chronic health diseases, there's been a rise on that. You talked about it, but I want to understand why it's been that so, especially with so many more medicines, more better facilities, technology coming in, and the rise of health disease, chronic health diseases. That's a bit surprising, difficult to digest. Help
Yeah.
us understand that part, Victor.
Well, I live in the United States. There's no country that spends more on the medical system than the United States, and yet I think we're somewhere like 50th in the world in longevity. So, what's going on here? Well, here's the thing: the modern medical allopathic system. The thing is, it's good if you have acute problems. So, for example, if you have a heart attack, they could save your life. They're great at saving your life in the emergency room. If you break your bone, they can operate on you, fix you up, put you in a cast. They're very good at those acute problems. They're not very good at handling chronic conditions. They're not. What they do is they focus on treating the symptoms, not the cause. And that's the thing. They don't learn that in medical school. So any problem, they'll give you a pill, but it only masks the symptoms. There's an underlying cause which you need to focus on, and that's why chronic diseases. That's one reason why chronic diseases have been getting worse and worse. And again, they don't focus on nutrition. Very little is focused on it. And nutrition is a big part of the equation. People, I can tell you, the vast majority of people I work with who fill out health evaluations, they are extremely nutrient deficient. They're not taking it. And even the people that eat healthier, they tend to be nutrient deficient, all because they're not getting all the nutrients that they need. And if you just look at the animals on farms, you cannot get insurance for your animals. So if your animal needs to have an operation, there's not an insurance company that's going to pay $20,000 for your animal to get the surgery. So what do farmers do? They give them all the vitamins and minerals, which is why baby animals don't have the diseases baby kids have, because baby kids generally don't get as many of the nutrients as animals do on the farm, and that's horrible. The babies should be getting as many nutrients as the animals are. Now it's better than it was 30 years ago because they have very very few nutrients. The babies are getting more, but I still don't think they're getting enough of the nutrients. So that is a problem, and so kids are not getting nutrients. And I can tell you right now that people eating much higher levels of ultra processed foods with lots of junks, lots of sugars, seed oils, and a lot of ingredients you can't even pronounce. They're added, they're put there to make you addicted to the food. And if you can't pronounce the ingredient, you probably shouldn't be eating it. And kids are eating, because I know the junk food that's out there now, and the same thing 30 years ago had many fewer ingredients. So there's a lot more poisons in the food now than there were 30, 40 years ago. It's one of the reasons why people are getting sicker. Um, Kids and teenagers are getting type 2 diabetes, which didn't exist 40 years ago. It used to be called adult onset diabetes because you didn't get it before you were in your 40s. But now 15-year-old kids are getting it, 10-year-old kids are getting it. And it's because of the foods we're eating. There's a lot of junk in it. And I would tell every parent, when you go to the supermarket, read the labels of everything you're buying. You'd be amazed at how many horrible things are in the food, how many sugar, seed oils, and these artificial ingredients that are in there that are going to cause damage to your heart. Here's the thing: it's not going to happen overnight, but it's a compound effect. So you keep eating these foods over the course of many years, you'll start developing the arthritis, you'll start developing the diabetes and these other health conditions.
So why are people so oblivious to this? Is it why is what is the USFDA's role in that? Just pass something and then forget about it? What are the research that is happening? What are the different organizations that are different government departments which are there to take? They also have families. They also have kids. What are they doing about it? Or only Victor has to come and talk about it?
Well, there are doctors out there talking about it. I'm happy to say. Unfortunately, FDA is a corrupt organization. Over 50% of their funding comes from big pharmaceutical companies. That's all you need to know. So they're always going to defer to them. In fact, you cannot legally say a supplement, a mineral or vitamin can cure any diseases. Only drugs, which is wrong. Drugs cannot cure diseases. But that, according to FDA, if you say vitamin C can cure this, or magnesium can cure this, you can get into trouble. What you could say is it can support heart health, it can support kidney health, but you cannot say it can cure. You can get into trouble because they're funded by the pharmaceuticals. So the pharmaceuticals have a big influence in the United States. In fact, the United States and New Zealand are the only two countries in the world in which pharmaceutical companies advertise on TV. They're not allowed in any other country in the world. And that's another problem too. When I was growing up, there were no pharmaceutical ads, but over the last 25 years, they are all over the place. So people see them, and you see it again and again. You start thinking, oh, I need to lose weight. I got to take this weight loss drug. But guess what? Weight loss drugs, a lot of them, not only do they have side effects, but they actually make you lose more muscle mass than fat, which you do not want. You need the muscle mass. So a lot of people think they're losing the fat. A lot of times they're also losing a lot of muscle mass, which is not good for your health.
Absolutely, absolutely, Victor. So, as a certified naturopath practitioner, as a certified uh, holistic health coach and nutrition expert, what is it that your clients come to you for?
Well, usually there's something going wrong with their health. They've tried everything else, nothing's working. Sometimes they've tried with the doctor, and doctor will give them like some medications, but again, they only mask the symptoms. So we look at the whole person, and that's why when you look at holistic, I spell it with a W, because I'm looking at the whole person. We look at them. We also look at them emotionally, physically, psychologically, mentally, spiritually, because they all play a factor. You got to look at the whole person. Very often, you go to the doctor, and he may spend 5 minutes with you and tell you, okay, I'm gonna write you a prescription, but he's not really looking at everything that's going on with you, which is what you need to do. So that's why it's so important to understand everything going on with the person. And that's what holistic health is all about.
Absolutely. So, in a nutshell, what are some of the tips that you want to give to people anywhere in the world, with they can, use in their daily lives, become much more healthier without all these processed foods and all those
Mhm.
medicines before they even come to those things?
Yeah. Number one, eat real food. Eat healthy food. 100 years ago, everyone ate real food. And so try to limit the artificial foods. Doesn't mean you cannot never eat them, but just limit it. I occasionally eat pizza. Pizza's not healthy food. I don't eat it all the time. But every once in a while it's okay. I'm not saying you can never eat it, but just say limit the junk food. So eat real food, eat healthy food. That's the first thing. And you have to supplement. Get good quality supplements. Don't buy the cheap kind online that they sell for, because the absorbability is probably very low. If you buy something cheap but it has low absorbability, you're throwing your money away. So make sure it's high quality supplements. So get the supplements for the vitamins and minerals your body is lacking. Limit the amount of stress. Stress can wreak havoc on your immune system. So limit the amount of stress. All the people they've interviewed who live to be 100 years old, like in these areas called the blue zones, one of the things they say they do is they don't worry. They limit the amount of stress. So limit the stress. Get plenty of sleep. Sleep is extremely important. It's very important for your health. Your body recovers. And people who don't get enough sleep over the long run are more susceptible to a lot of diseases and illnesses. Definitely do the exercises, work out. But also after a good workout, make sure you supplement, because when you exercise, you're not just sweating out toxins, you're also sweating out nutrients and electrolytes. So make sure you supplement after a good workout. But there's a lot of good benefits to exercising. Spend time in nature, spend time in the sun, you get that vitamin D. Vitamin D is an extremely important vitamin. And so you do those things, you will have results. You will see your health get better. So those are some things I recommend. There's always a few other things I could say, but I would say that would be the gist. You focus on those things, you will see improvements.
Absolutely, absolutely. You will see improvement. Now, coming to the book, let's talk about your book, How to Be Happy, Healthy, and Whole. Who is this book for? What have you written in this book? Is this out in the market?
Yeah, people can find it on Amazon. So I wrote this because for really the reasons we were talking about throughout this whole interview. There's a lot of people who I believe want to live healthier lives and they're trying, but they're doing some of the wrong things, like they're believing some of the health myths. And I'm trying to make them aware that some of the things they've learned about is wrong, so they got to change that. And then some people may not know, and I want to, show them what they need to do, what are the things they need to do, like some of the things I mentioned on this interview. And I also share a lot of the vitamins and minerals that they need, how it helps them, food sources of these vitamins and minerals, what happens when you're deficient in them. People don't realize some of the things that happens when you're deficient in some of these nutrients and why it causes some problems. And afterwards, I also share some different types of herbs and supplements that can also help them as well. And then, and I share more tips as, the things they can do to be healthier. And I also explain why we've gotten to this point, like some of the things I've talked about, what Big Pharma has done, ultra processed foods and stuff like that. Oh, another health myth that people believe is they believe modern wheat is healthy for you. It's actually not. It is very bad for you. It's been linked to weight gain, inflammation, diabetes, and it's been a huge increase in celiac disease. Again, I'm talking about the wheat that's been around the last 6 years. I'm not talking about the traditional wheat. Also, the gluten can cause issues. It can destroy the villi in your gut that can, which will make it harder for you to absorb nutrients. So I would say limit the modern wheat as well. If you can, try to find a more traditional wheat. It's easier on your body. So modern wheat, and not only that, a lot of people don't notice. Modern wheat will raise your glycemic index more than table sugar.
Right, right. There is so much to learn about all this from you, Victor, and I'm sure a lot of people from across the world would want to connect with you, learn more from you, about your views on all these things, and also learn from your book. What's the best way for them to do so?
All right, so if they want to, they can go to my website, victordedaj.com, last name Dedaj. They can also, if they want a free health evaluation, they can go to yourfreehealthevaluation.com. My book, How to Be Happy, Healthy, and Whole, is on Amazon. They can also follow me on Facebook or LinkedIn.
Wonderful. With this, it's a wrap on this very special edition of the KAJ Masterclass Live. Thank you so much indeed for joining us.
Thank you for having me on the show.